Alright, let's do another thrifting video. First stop is this place in Banff. It's one of the two thrift stores they've got there in the basement of the mall with the movie theater, and unfortunately I didn't find much there. There were a few old radios like this up there, but these are kind of low-end machines and not that interesting. So I went to the Rundle United Church where they've got a huge thrift store in the basement. And yeah, we're just wandering around looking at all the stuff there. It is very busy, as you can see, which is great to see because this is the kind of thing that keeps a United Church open these days. Me being a United Church minister's son, that's kind of important to me. And yeah, we'll first check out the electronics, and I'm sorry in advance for not getting the framing right, but I immediately found something here. I'm looking at a couple of Sony APM speakers from a boombox. Not exactly like the ones from my CFS 9000, but very close. I was real interested in those because they might actually prove to be good parts donors for woofers for those APM speakers that are damaged in mine. So I took them with me. Yeah, I'm just taking extra time looking at them, making sure I want to keep them. There were no prices on them, so I had to basically just trust they would be reasonably priced. And it turns out they were. I think I paid, what was it, $10 for the lot of things that I found there. So yeah, I was real happy with this place. And I will be back. I went there last time too, but yeah. Here I am looking at their cassettes. Immediately found a yellow tape. Of course I've got to buy yellow. Huge fan of theirs. Naked Eyes, that's another good band from Canada. We'll take that one too. Just looking through the rest of them. Found a couple of Ultravox cassettes there. I've never really been too keen on Ultravox, but I've never really given them a chance either, so might as well bring them too. Try and work around this lady standing there, and Enigma, oh yeah, I'm bringing that home. And this is the stuff I found there. Yeah, had to do a picture so you could see what I got. Next place, Crossway Community Thrift. This is in Canmore. And yeah, I discovered real quick that this place is hiding something. And what it's hiding is a gigantic thrift store, and I mean truly gigantic. There's a whole side of the building dedicated to clothes, and then I immediately went over to the good side, which was this place. Just looking at the books here. Nice big cross on the wall there. Didn't really find too much in the way of books here that I was interested in, because I do e-reading now, because of the way my eyes are. But yeah, this place, not only is it the biggest thrift store I've seen outside Calgary, but it's... well, you'll see later, but I was very disappointed in this place. But first, we'll go take a look at the media, see if we can find any cassettes. And I did find an Enya cassette here, so yeah, we'll take that along. I would later find out that they're charging $1 each for these tapes, which is a bit much, but it didn't really set up any red flags for me right then. Didn't really find too much other than Enya there. They really didn't have too many cassettes. They did have Paul Young, but I'm not that great of a fan of Paul Young, at least not the one we're talking about here. I like the Paul Young that sang for Mike and the Mechanics. He was awesome. Rest in peace, Paul. Now we go over to the puzzles, and this is where it started to clue in that something was amiss here. Look at the price on those puzzles. $4 and up? For puzzles that were donated? Are you serious? Anyway, I found this one Springbok there. I was kind of tempted because I love lighthouses, but I decided, well, if they're not going to put actual prices on these and do $4 and up, maybe I'll pass on them. And yeah, this Ravensburger looked pretty good too. I like Ravensburger puzzles. Or Ravensburger, I don't know how you pronounce it. Here's a Eurographics that kind of caught my interest. I'm not really that big on Eurographics though. They're kind of lower quality compared to Ravensburger and Springbok for me. Now here is where I noticed something. You see that camera on the upper right there? That is a Nikon D90, and they wanted $500 for that thing. Yes, it came with 3 lenses, but they were old lenses. They were AF lenses. You can't use them with any modern camera. Well, you can, but you have to have a D800 or D810 or D850. The mirrorless ones, forget about it. But yeah, they had a massive electronics section, and massively overpriced as well. Mice, you got them. Mouse pads, you got them. Apple something or other, you got them. Hard drives, anything you could want, they've got it. Unfortunately, this is the area where I started to get both really excited and really disappointed, and I'll show you in a minute here. Lots of monitors. Lots and lots of monitors, but this is where I got excited. They had all kinds of good stuff here. DVD players, Blu-ray players, CD players, you name it, they had it. And unfortunately, this is where I found out the most disappointing part of this thrift store. Apparently what they do is they try to discourage flipping by flipping things themselves. They look at eBay prices, they find the most expensive thing on eBay, and then they give a little bit of a discount on top of that price, and they say, "Look, we compared against eBay. Our prices are great." Well, no, your prices are crap. I'm sorry. But if you're going to sell electronics for these kinds of prices, you have to make sure all of these electronics work. You have to go through them. You've got to make sure they're all working properly. Otherwise, you get stuff that sits on the shelf like this. And you saw a Panasonic boombox there I was real tempted by. But one look at the price and I said, no, I'm not doing it. And over here you see more of the same thing. You see this CD changer here? That one right there? They wanted almost $200 for that thing. For a 6-disc CD changer. Nobody wants this stuff anymore. I don't care how much somebody was pricing it for on eBay. They may have never sold it on eBay. And this one, this is another giant CD changer. I think they wanted over $200 for that one. It's just, no thank you. I'm not paying those prices for these kinds of things. And yeah, if you go further back in the store, you find just how big this store is. Furniture galore, electronics galore, and most of it not selling because everything is overpriced. So let's go to this Goodwill in Calgary. This is where I dropped off the car, or where I went after dropping off the car for service. And lots of monitors here. I was disappointed in this place last time, but this time I had a little more luck. Just not with these monitors. Who cares about old TVs and monitors like this? They're just not so great. But yeah, all we gotta do is pan down and we find a Toshiba HD A30. This is an HD DVD player, and I've been wanting one of these for a long time. And that one is all there. It's got all the accessories, got the manual, got the remote, it's got everything. Unfortunately, that was about all I found here. There just was not much for electronics. There was a lot of kitchen stuff, as you can see here. Nothing particularly interesting for me. But yeah, I just kind of wandered right back around and I grabbed that HD DVD player. And I'm happy to say it works, but we'll find out more about that later. From there we go to the MCC thrift store in Calgary, the one I went to last time, where I found some good stuff. This is where I got those little bookshelf speakers for testing with. And they really didn't have much this time either. All of the interesting plasma TVs were gone, and the Technics amp I was looking at last time was gone. There just wasn't much here. But I went and looked anyway. There's this Sony receiver down there that was kind of catching my interest. I'm really not a big fan of Sony stuff of that vintage though, so I left her there. I did find these two interesting Toa integrated amplifiers. Those were kind of tempting. Toa is a consumer, well, not a consumer electronics, they're a professional electronics manufacturer from Japan. They did a lot of low-end PA stuff, kind of competed with Peavey. And here we found another set of those bookshelf speakers I got before. Of course, I don't need any more of those, so I left them there. And yeah, lots of kitchen stuff, and I did find a little more of a special place in this store this time around, where they've got all the fancy toys hidden. So yeah, I really wasn't interested in this stuff, but I thought I'd show it to you guys anyway, just in case. Lots of vintage toys there, and I did find this after looking around. Old-fashioned, wind-up record player. This was seriously tempting, but not the price. That's where it kind of got out of control with this place. So I went to Value Village, the big one nearby. And unfortunately this time went just as well as last time. Not much there. Bunch of old monitors again, and old TV sets and clock radios and printers and keyboards. Yeah, I did find a little thing or two that was interesting, though. Well, kind of. There was this old Onkyo receiver I was kind of tempted by. No HDMI inputs whatsoever on the back of that beast, so it's old. And so are the rest of these things. So yeah, given the fact that my giant Sony I couldn't fix is still sitting on the shelf over there, I decided to leave all those old receivers where they were and just continue on my merry way to this thrift store, which was really disappointing last time, but as it turns out, not so disappointing this time. First place I went was their cassette section, and I did find some good stuff here this time. More than Tom Cochran. Got a Daryl Hall and John Oates tape. I ended up buying that. And what's this? Roseanne Cash's King's Record Shop? That's worth buying. C.C. Peniston? Yeah, buying that one too. Finally. But yeah, this place turned out to be a little bit better. And I'll show you why in a second, after I get done pawing through all these old cassettes. I probably picked up about 20 cassettes on this trip. So yeah, I got a lot of stuff to listen to. Really not much else there. So let's go find the good stuff. Here we find a rack with some electronics on it. That's near the front of the store. Saw that Sony Blu-ray player and it looked a little interesting, but I don't need any Blu-ray players. They did have these Space Sound Panasonic speakers here, along with the main unit to go with them, and they had all three priced separately, so rip-off city for those. But then I found this stuff. A bunch of old cassettes still in the packaging. And yeah, I looked at this briefly. Hones Tech Audio Recorder 2.0 Plus. I don't need that. Never will. Left it there. But what I did not leave there were all these Maxell XL2 cassettes. I used to swear by these tapes back in the day. They really record well. Even on my old Pulsar boombox, they recorded well. That's where I discovered how picky that Pulsar boombox is for recording. And yeah, they had one TDK SA90 there too. I brought that back with me as well. I love TDK. The rest of these, not so special. I think they were all pretty much normal bias tapes, and I've got enough of those. I just don't need any more. So I looked through them briefly, left them all there. Here's a Sony HF there. Ooh, micro cassettes. Left those there too because I've got no machines anymore for that. Not really that interested in micro cassettes either. Then I tried out this thrift store, Blackfoot Thrift Store. Kind of hard to get to this place, but it had good reviews. And it did have some good stuff. Looking at some tools here. But I wasn't there for tools, I was there for electronics, so let's go look at the electronics. A couple of those tower speakers that seem to be everywhere these days. Yeah, there's another pair of them right there. A couple of old car radios. The usual DVD players that nobody wants anymore, because Blu-ray players do the same thing. Old computer speakers. Kitchen stuff. Yeah, I didn't really find much here. There were a couple of these bigger TVs there. I have no need of such things, so I left them all there. And yeah, they did have some other electronics sprinkled throughout the store, like here. Nothing special here, though. I did find something interesting over here. Anybody need a tower shower head? These guys have one, apparently. I don't have the bathroom I could put that thing in, otherwise I would have loved to bring that home, but probably worth buying that stuff new, I'm thinking. So yeah, quick look around. Didn't really buy anything here. And so on we go to Junk in the Trunk thrift store. This turned out to be the best place of the trip, at least for old electronics. And I immediately noticed when I walked in, this little table here, all items, buy one for $1, get 3 free, so I bought a bunch of cassettes here. Of course I did, why wouldn't I? They had 8 tracks too, pretty much anything you wanted. They even had CED video discs here. I'm not kidding. I was real tempted by those too, but I don't have a machine for that kind of thing yet, so... I did notice this little cassette deck here, but unfortunately the price on it was a little bit out of my range, so... I left that one there, and I immediately thought, well, this is going to be like Crossways and Canmore. Everything's going to be stupid expensive, and I'm not going to be able to do anything with it. So... I had pretty much given up hopes, but I looked around anyway, and then I found out how good this thrift store really was. So yeah, we're just wandering around the front part of the store here. I did spot this Grenada top-loading VCR here. Was kind of interested, but I really don't like doing VCRs that much, so I left it alone. They did have other good stuff up front here. But they've got all the expensive stuff up front also. If you want to look for the good stuff, you got to dig for it. They did have this console stereo here. I think it was an Electro Home or something like that. Not too interesting, because I've got my grandparents' old console stereo. That's all I've got room for. That's all I've got interest for. So yeah, just making my way back through the store. Not much along here. Kind of the sewing section, if you will. A few old clothes. Now I went through the cassette section here. And you can sort of see the stuff I picked up from the front. But I picked up some stuff here too, including a couple of Steve Winwood tapes. And Stacy Q, we're taking her with us. Not a big fan of Stacy Q, but I am a little bit of a fan, so we'll take it. Yeah, here's one of the Steve Winwood tapes. I've really kind of slept on him over the years. Really think I needed to give him more of a shot than I had in the past. So I bought this, and I bought the other one that was there. Yeah, we'll take Steve Winwood with us. And we'll go in search of more electronics. In a minute or two. There are more electronics present in this store, let me tell you. And now we're going to look at them. This is where they had their scratch and dent pile. This is where they had the stuff that they knew was defective and were willing to sell as defective. This is rare. I didn't find any other place like this in Calgary. And here I immediately found something interesting. First of all, there's this Kenwood receiver down here. And I'm kind of kicking myself for not picking this up. But I think the issue with it is it had a note on it that said 1 channel out, and when I see notes like that, it immediately makes me think it's got blown output transistors, and I didn't want to go through and replace every section of a blown out Kenwood. But now I'm kind of thinking I should have brought it with me. So yeah, just playing with it a little here, trying to figure out whether or not I wanted to bring it with me. But yeah, I decided to just not bring it. And they had even more cassettes next to these things. You want cassettes? Go to this place. They've got them. Boy, howdy, do they got them. But yeah, actually what I found more interesting was that fisher on top of the Kenwood, but we'll get to that in a second. Let's look at this stuff first here. This Sony receiver, again kind of tempting in the same way the other one was at Value Village. I think it was. Could have been some other place. I hit so many thrift stores on this trip, I can't remember them all now. But yeah, not really that interested in a Sony receiver of that vintage. Lots of CDs. But yeah, this is me going back for that Fisher receiver. And if you want to pause the video, you can actually see on this note, it's completely dead, sold as is for $10, so of course I was gonna buy it. I need to see what that's about, but onward to this Goodwill store, closer to downtown Calgary. Not too much here, I'm gonna admit. Just going through the store here, trying to find the good parts. Lots of lamps, tons of lamps. Even had a few of these LED fixtures for retrofitting. I was kind of tempted, but not tempted enough. Could have used those for the laundry room, I guess, but I left them. Just trying to figure out where all the good electronics are, and here they are. Lots of TVs again. Lots of clock radios and assorted junk. But they did have a Hitachi cassette deck down here. Unfortunately, this is a low-end Hitachi. It's already got problems. I'm just feeling inside for the tape head quality, and yeah, it's got tape head wear. And they want $50 for it, so nope, I think we'll leave that one there. I have no real interest of collecting these low-end cassette decks. I don't really have a way of selling them once I'm done with them, so I don't want them cluttering up space, so I'd rather go for mid-grade and high-end cassette decks for now, just to fill out my collection. Maybe once I've got some kind of a storefront set up, we can do something with those, but not at the present time. And these speakers were absolute crap, so I left them there. These are Sound Design York's Lloyd's level garbage speakers, so we don't want them. So, on to the World Serve thrift store. This is close to that Goodwill. Very nice thrift store, I like this place. And I forgot to optimize my media again, so I've just gone choppy on the playback here, but I'll just let it play through anyway. It's stabilized for me, so I can do my voiceover. Checked out the cassettes and stuff first. Not much here, at least at the present time. Lots of books and stuff, lots of CDs. But I've got enough CDs, and I don't listen to them anyway. This is what they had for electronics. Basically nothing. Yeah, this place was kind of disappointing, but I can see promise in it, so I might be back next time. Going back into Calgary in a week or so to get the car supercharger clutch done finally, because the parts are in. Maybe I'll check it out again, maybe I won't. I probably won't do another video like this for a while now, because my last one didn't do so well. They did have a few good stuff in here, in this cabinet, but not good enough for me to stay around. So I went to the thrift store next door, which, as it turns out, is another Salvation Army, and a big one this time. A real big one. They had a much bigger electronics section in this store, but mostly TVs and DVD players and the usual crap. They did have this little Sears stereo, which was kind of interesting, but I found this Boston Acoustics speaker a lot more interesting. And I thought it was just the one at first until I saw the other one sitting there in the next rack. And I probably should have bought those, actually. They probably need refoaming, because Boston Acoustics speakers of this vintage usually do. And it would have made good content for the channel, but they were $30, so I said, let's just leave them. And yeah, they did have the exclusive cases up front, like the other Salvation Army store had. I didn't see anything interesting in them, so I didn't really stop to look at anything. I was tired that day, so I just moved on to this Value Village. Equally large compared to the other Value Village, but equally bereft of anything interesting, I'm afraid. It was more interesting going into the store than actually looking around it. They've had some vandalism lately. I guess they must have been hitting all the thrift stores, because that's the same kind of thing I saw at that Salvation Army store. Broken out windows and stuff like that. Must not be quite as good a section of Calgary. Again, absolutely massive store. Absolutely nothing there worth looking at. Just a bunch of DVD players and clock radios and very low-end VCRs. Who wants this stuff? Certainly not me. Certainly not the guy sitting in the thrift store chair blocking the way for everybody else. Yeah, just not much here. Quick look around, then I was gone. To this place. Wherever this place is, oh yes, Goodwill. My screen froze up again. The footage from this Action 3 is kind of hard to deal with. Anyway, I thought it was going to be like the other Goodwills and thrift stores and not much interesting. They had a few of these DVD players. I looked at them briefly, but left them there because they're all junk. There's a Wii Fit. Anybody need an old CD-ROM drive, I think that is? Yeah, a bunch of not very interesting things here. I did find these little tiny speakers, but again, don't need them. Left them there. Here's a portable DVD player. One of those laptop types that nobody wants anymore because everybody watches things on their phone now. Yeah, I left that there too, of course. Just a whole lot of nothing until I started going this way. They had one gem hiding in this place. It's down this way. I did see this UMIG projector thing here. Unfortunately, it's just the cover, so who cares? UMIG had some really good tape decks back in the day too, but obviously I'm not finding that. They did have this Autel amp here. That was interesting. I am a big fan of Autel. I don't have any of their stuff currently, but I have had their stuff in the past. Used to have an old Noresco thingamajigger that was built by Autel. But this was the gem I was talking about. This Nordmend old radio here. This is a tube radio. They wanted $250 for this big boy. So, even despite that price, I was kind of interested. So I had a closer look at it. Looks like it's in not terrible shape. Maybe I could do something with this. Back was falling off. So I took that opportunity to look inside the back, and what do we find? Not one single vacuum tube for a thing they want $250 for. Hell no! $250 is a hard sell for this thing in working order. But without tubes, even for the channel, this made no sense whatsoever. Left it there. I'm gone. To this place. Familiar Value Village in Medicine Hat. I've had luck here, I've had bad luck here. This is where I found that Sony receiver I couldn't fix. Because they will take anything. They don't care if it's working, they will take it. So yeah, going inside, saying hello to the nice lady, going back to the electronics because I don't waste time here. Again, massive value village, like they all are, seemingly. I did find one of these over-the-range microwaves here. These tend to die because they're sitting over a range usually. Obviously I wasn't going to buy that one. If you're going to buy one of those, get it new and get a warranty. So yeah, really didn't find too much there. Little VCR tape holder, who cares? And then I came around here and started finding good stuff. First off, there was this Panasonic boombox. I was a little bit interested in maybe getting this for my sister, until I realized it was a low-end boombox, and then I said no thanks, bunch of monitors again, and then I saw this. A pair of Hertz Audio coaxial 6.5-inch car speakers for $10. Hertz is a good brand. At least I believe it is. I don't really have much experience with them. So for $10 I was real interested. So I opened it up just to see if the speakers were there, and if they were in good shape. Just trying to get in. And yet, they were there. They were in good shape, so I took them. And finally, the last place of the trip. Maple Creek Salvation Army thrift store. This is actually the best one of the trip, if you ask me. And I'm not just saying that because I'm relatively local. They had everything here. Not much I was interested, but I will be back to this place. If only because it's on the way to and from Calgary. Need a piano? They've got a piano. Need an organ? They've got an organ. And I was kind of interested in the organ because I used to repair these all the time back in the day, being an electronics musical instrument technician, but unfortunately I remember how much they suck to fix, so I left it there, obviously. I've got no space for that kind of thing anyway. Don't play them. Don't have much interest. If it's not a pipe organ, I don't care. They did have this old tube TV here. That would have been more interesting if it weren't for the fact that I still have my grandparents' old Hitachi TV set from 1975. Should probably do something with that on the channel one of these days, honestly. It would make a great gaming TV setup. Don't even know if it works anymore. I should pull that out and do something with it. I don't like working on tube TVs, but I can. It's just I haven't done it in a while. And of course, this being the home place of Cowtown Toys, they had puzzles. Most likely originally bought from Cowtown Kids and Toys, or whatever it's called. Found this Springbok 2000 piece, and I decided to bring this one home despite the damage. For $5, a Springbok 2000 is coming home with me. But I did look at the other puzzles before I made that decision here. They had more Springbok. Of course they did. And one of them ended up coming home with me. In addition to the 2000, I brought this one. This is a newer Springbok, so they had it priced a little higher at $7, so I thought, well, we'll take a chance. I'll bring that home. And yeah, this is pretty much it for my thrifting adventure for this particular trip. I might do more of these, I might not. I don't really enjoy walking around these places carrying a camera, so we'll see how this video does with views and such. But yeah, I did have some better luck this time, and I probably will be back to that Junk in the Trunk thrift store in Calgary just to see if that Kenwood receiver is still there. Maybe they've got other stuff that I want to get. And because that thrift store is actually fairly close to the what is it, the Crossroads Farmers Market, that place was gold, and I will have a whole other video for that in the future. You guys are not going to want to miss it because the Crossroads Market is just amazing. It's like a thrift store adventure in itself. Anything you could possibly want, they've got. Including Rocky's Burgers, which happens to be the best burgers I've ever had in Calgary. And they're cheaper than Wendy's too, so yes, go to the Crossroads Market. I don't care if you do nothing else in Calgary, go to the Crossroads Market. You will love it there. Alright guys, so we're going to go ahead and test on this HD DVD player, see if it actually works. As you can see, I've got it down here in my home theater rack. It's kind of deep for it, but it works. And we've got a standby light on. Should be ready to go. So let's see what happens. Got a little welcome thing going on there. But nothing up here yet. Okay, where are you? Still no signal. Okay, there we go. Got some setup options here. Let me just move over here so you can see better. Well, I guess that don't work so well because of my shadow. We want to go with this setting. Up to 1080p 24. Colors are a bit weird, I gotta say. Okay, that looks good. All right, I think we're all set to go here. At least I think so. How do I get out of this now? Okay, there we go. I don't know if that screen is supposed to be green or not, but yeah, I'm kind of suspicious here. Let's see if we can get it to play the one HD DVD I have, which is this over here. So we'll just take it over here, pop her in. Clearly the disc tray works. So let's go over here and see what we can get on the screen. Still flashing loading on the player display. Could be it doesn't work at all, which would explain why it was there. But we are dealing with a format that lost the war, so it's not too surprising it would be there. Yeah, that is not supposed to be green at all. Something is up with this player. Alright guys, I got it figured out. It does work just fine. The problem is it's just a mite old for HDMI 2.0. So I had to go into the projector and I had to set it up for 1.4. That got it working. So yeah, it looks like this is perfectly working. I just have to do a little weirdness in order to get it to actually behave itself. So yes, it does work. We'll try a couple of chapters here. And I hope I don't get a copyright strike or something like that, but yes, it is working. Nothing wrong with this player, except for the fact that it's too old for current HDMI standards, but that's fine. So that's a winner there for about 15 bucks. I'm going to set the projector back to 2.0 so I can watch what I was going to watch this evening. So yeah, that's that done.